Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to our Srimad Bhagavatam overview class. So we'll begin with our prayers. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजना सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगणा ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमः विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी नित्यनामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So we are on third canto. Yesterday we completed the 10th chapter of the third canto. So the story is going about the creation which is done by Brahmaji. So, in response to the questions of Vidura, Maitreya Rishi describes the manifestation of Brahma, how Brahmaji, when he was born, he was confused, he looked in all the directions, he got 4 heads, and then he meditated, then he saw the beautiful darshan of Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and he praised the beautiful form of Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and then he started the description of various things which were created by Brahmaji after Brahmaji offered beautiful prayers. Then that is the whole 9th chapter. In the 10th chapter, we saw there are 10 types of creation which were done by Brahmaji. There are 6 things which were done by Supreme Lord and Brahmaji also. So among these 10, 6 are done by Garbhodakshay Vishnu. That is called primary creation, and of course Karnodakshay Vishnu. And then the creation of the animals and the humans and the plants, they are under secondary creation, and the creation of the devatas, they are mixed creation because they are created by Garbhodakshay Vishnu also, and they are created by Brahmaji also. So that is the 10th chapter. And then today we'll be seeing a very interesting chapter of calculation of time from atom. So lots of beautiful, wonderful, amazing details we'll be hearing today. There will be little technical details also, but it will clarify many of our doubts about what is the time duration, time factor which is described in Srimad Bhagavatam. So actually in 10th chapter, in the 10th verse, Vidura had asked about Vidura had asked Maitreya to describe about eternal time. And Maitreya had given little general details about time. And now, in this chapter, we'll see Maitreya Rishi gives the elaborate details of the time. So in this, first, Maitreya, he found that describing this subtle time is difficult. So Maitreya, he first starts the description by describing the divisions of matter. And, So this chapter describes the time in terms of space. Time and space, they are two correlative terms, So it is said that Prabhupada writes in the 4th verse of this 11th chapter purport, he writes that time is measured in terms of its covering a certain space of atoms by the movements of the sun. So just to understand it in a simple way. So the sun, as it is moving, so the time sun takes to move from one atom to another atom. So that is the beginning of the measurement of time. And that is called Paramanu. What is Paramanu? Paramanu means, that is called Paramatmanu, Paramanutam, that is called Paramanutam. For that we'll first see what is Paramanu. So Paramanu means the material manifestations ultimate smallest particle. What we call atom, in general terms, in the scientific terminology, atom. So the Bhagavatam's description of this, minute details of nature, they also correlate with the scientific details which are given by the scientists. So in this chapter, we'll see that how Maitreya Rishi is also describing what is an atom. So he says in the first verse of this 11th chapter, he says that this atom is the material manifestation's smallest ultimate particle, which is indivisible and invisible also. It cannot be divided and it cannot be seen. And Maitreya Muni says that there are innumerable such particles. And this whole material body which we see, they are the combination of such atoms. That is called Paramanu. And then there is something called Parama Mahan. That is second verse. Maitreya describes what is this Parama Mahan. Parama Mahan means the totality of all the Paramanus. That means whatever matter is existing in this universe, you aggregate them. That is called Parama Mahan. So aggregate of all the matter which is there in all the universe, throughout the universe. That is called Parama Mahan. So Paramanu means the smallest atom. Parama Mahan means the biggest aggregate of all the atoms. And then Maitreya Muni says that one can estimate time by measuring the movements of atomic combination of bodies. So this is all the intricate little technical details. So now what Maitreya Muni will describe, he will describe how time is calculated starting from Paramanu. So the chapter is entitled The Calculation of the Time from Atom. So from where this word came, this title is given by Prabhupada. So this is the slide where you can see that the Vedic time starts the calculation from Paramanu. And what is the conversion factor? How to convert the atom into time. So the conversion factor is time for the sun to pass one Paramanu distance. It is like inconceivably small thing. Paramanu means atom. The amount of time the sun takes to pass one Paramanu distance. That is the minutest beginning level of time. That is the basic factor. And then this whole list, as you can see, this describes how the time is calculated in terms of atom. So then if you double the Paramanu, it becomes a Anu. And then if you do three times Anu is called Trisha Renu or hexatom. And then 3 times this Trisha Renu is called a Truti. Truti Yugayate, as you hear the Gopi Gita. Truti Yugayate Tvam Apashyatam. Truti, what is that Truti? This is the Truti. And from here the modern time calculation is given. If you divide 8 by 13,500 second, that is a Truti. So the gopis, they were feeling separation even when they were not able to see Krishna for this millisecond of time. Truti Yugayate. And then when you multiply 100 times Truti, it becomes a word called Veda. And then 3 times Veda is lava. Lava matra sadhu sangha. We have heard so many times, hundreds of times you must have heard lava. What is that lava? This is the lava. 3 times the Vedas, that is 100 times Truti into 3. So that is 8 by 45 of a second. That is a lava. Sadhu sangha sarva shastra kaye lava matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hoye. So that is what our scriptures say. Lava matra. Lava means 8 by 45 of a second. That is, that's how small it is. And when scriptures they say, itna thoda sa sadhu sangha se bhi, lava matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi. So that's how we have to understand. The sadhu sangha is so much glorified in the scriptures. And then if you multiply 3 times lava, it becomes nimesh. Nimesh is also a very familiar word. Chakshusha pravrishaitam shunyaitam jagat sarvam. How this? So nimesh also comes there. So that is 8 by 15. And then shana. Shana also we have heard many times. Shan. So what is that? Shana. It is 3 times a nimesh. That is 8 by 5 seconds. That is 1.6 seconds. That is a kshan. And then shan, 5 times shan is kashtha, and then laghu, then nadika, and then muhurta. What is muhurta? Muhurta is 1 hour. That is a muhurta, 1 hour. And then we know about prahara also. Krishna's Ashtaprahariya Leela we have heard. So this Ashtaprahari means 8 into 3. So this prahar means 6 times this danda. So not muhurta, 6 times danda. That becomes a prahara. And then if you multiply 4 and 4 prahara, 8 praharas means day and night. That is 24 hours. And then of course after that we know. So this is a division of time starting from a paramanu. So just mere understanding this fact, we can realize how scientific our Bhagavatam is, how scientific our Vedic culture is. Problem is because we are not able to understand the intricacies which are given in the scriptures, then that's why we say, okay, all these does not make any sense. But our scriptures, they give all the intricate details, just like we'll be hearing in this canto only. The details of embryology is given. How a child grows in the womb. Vyasdev, 5,000 years back, sitting in the forest. How did he get this knowledge? How the child grows in the womb? There was no sonography at that time. So how did he understand? It was all realized knowledge. It was all given by Krishna. Tene Brahma Ridaya Adi Kavaye Muhyanti Yat Surayah. Tene Brahma Ridaya. This knowledge was given by Krishna in the heart of Brahmaji. We heard this, discussed this in the second canto also. How Lord spoke to Brahmaji. How Lord he spoke this Chatushloki Bhagavatam. So therefore, just by seeing this one slide, you can understand how intricate details are described in Srimad Bhagavatam, starting from Paramanu. Parmanu, Anu, Trisharenu, and then what is Lava, what is Nimesh, and what is Shana. We have heard it many times, but what is it? We have no idea. We call Shana also a second, Lava also a second, Nimesh also a second. Nimesh means a time taken to just blink the eyes. It is called Nimesh. So what is it actually? It is given in Bhagavatam in very nice details. So then after describing these divisions of time starting from Paramanu, then Maitreya Rishi starts the description of 5 types of ear. And this Nadika, as you can see, one of this thing is this Nadika. What is this Nadika? It is also described very, very nicely in this 9th verse of this 11th chapter. It says, the time it takes for the water to overflow when a copper pot of 14 ounce weight in which a hole is bored with a gold probe measuring 4 mass and measuring 4 fingers long is placed on the water. So confused, pura confused. Okay. So you can read 3:11:9. So why I'm telling this is just the mere fact that all these very, very wonderful details are given in Bhagavatam. This is given to increase our faith in the scriptures. That the scriptures, they are not just some mythology which is given, which is spoken outside in the outside world. It's mythology. Mythology means it does not exist. Somebody must have written out of his mind, mental concoction. But this Bhagavatam and all the scriptures, they have such a detailed, such a intricate details are given, which should give us faith that this is right. And therefore, if we can logically see the relation between some things which we can experience by our pratyaksha and with the shabda, okay, pratyaksha and shabda are matching at some places. But 5th canto, we'll see that there are many times our pratyaksha will not match the shabda. That is the question of faith. That's why this 5th canto is a testing canto. If we can cross this 5th canto, if we can put faith in the descriptions of cosmology without questioning the creator, without questioning the writer who is writing, without questioning the speaker who is speaking this Bhagavatam, then we'll go to the 6th canto. That is called Poshanam. Then Krishna will protect his devotees, because Krishna, he sees that now my devotee has developed faith in my pastimes. Because ultimately, faith is the only treasure which we have in our life. Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kahe Sudrir Nischay Krishne Bhakti Koile Sarva Karm Krit Hai. That is faith. All the things will be done by practicing bhakti. So the purpose of hearing all these intricate technical details is what? Somebody may get confused that what is the use of understanding all this? Just to make us realize that the knowledge which is given in Bhagavatam, it is not some concoction. It is not written by any ordinary person of this world. Vyasdev is not an ordinary person of this world. He is a avatar of Krishna. Therefore, when Srila Prabhupada, one reporter went to Prabhupada and said, Swamiji, you have written these books? So Prabhupada said, no, Krishna has written these books. So he got confused. Matlab kya hai iska? So there was one disciple who was standing nearby. So he said, no, actually what Prabhupada is meaning that, Krishna inspires him and then he writes. So Prabhupada said, which rascal is saying this? So he started chastising the disciple. When I am saying Krishna is writing these books, that means Krishna is writing. I am just taking dictation. Another place Prabhupada told is Tamal Krishna Maharaj, I came only for one purpose. And actually said, I did not want to come here. I did not want to come to the material world. But Krishna told me that you just go, write some books and come back. Rest, everything will be done. I will do everything, So don't worry. So that was Prabhupada. Prabhupada was specially sent by Krishna to write these books, So therefore, we have to understand these books, they are very, very practical knowledge which are given by Srila Prabhupada, by Vyasdev, by Shukdev Goswami for our welfare, to increase our faith in these topics. So then, Maitreya Muni describes about 5 types of year. So there is something called Samvatsara, Parivatsara, Vatsara, Anuvatsara and Ida Vatsara. So Samvatsara, see now, according to Vedic cosmology, So now what science says, modern science says, modern astrology says that sun is constant and all the planets are revolving around the sun. But actually that is not the case. Bhagavatam and Vedic cosmology describes very clearly, sun is revolving, and it is revolving around the Meru mountain. And Earth is not revolving. Earth is a stationary object, So there are all the planets, they are Navagrahas. They are the only planets which are revolving. And when they make a whole round around the Meru mountain, that is a year. So the sun makes a whole round around the Meru mountain in 365.25 days. And that's why, every 4 years we have a leap year in which we have 1 day more. So that is because of 365.25. And then Jupiter is also a graha. It also revolves, makes a revolution around this Meru mountain. And the Jupiter, Brihaspati, completes its revolution in 11.87 years. And then there are some 27 constellations. They also revolve. Then Moon is also revolving. Actually, Moon is revolving around the Earth. That is our satellite for the Earth. Then there are other constellations. So these are the 5 types of years which are described by Maitreya Muni to Vidura. And then he says that one should worship one should worship the sun once every 5 years, because he enlivens with his heat and light, diminishes life duration, and thus releases from material illusion, enlarges the path of heaven, elevation to heaven. So this is what some details Maitreya says. And then Vidura inquires, okay, you have told that there are so many people who live for a very short time, but what about those who live beyond the day of Brahma? Because most of the living entities, they live only for the day of Brahma, but there are some who live beyond the day of Brahma. And who are they? So we know that there are 14 planetary systems. Bhumandal is in between. Then Bhuva, Swarg, then Janalok, Maharalok, Janalok, Tapalok, and Brahmalok. And then lower is also the 6 planetary systems. So all the living entities below this Maharloka, that is up to Swarga, they live only for maximum a day of Brahma. So all the devatas, they live for maximum 1 day. But there are the sages who are living in upper planetary systems, Maharaloka and all the upper planets, Maharaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Brahmaloka. They live for the entire life duration of Brahma. What is the life of Brahma? We'll discuss in some time. So before that, so when Vidura asks this question, that what about those who live beyond the day of Brahma? 1 day of Brahma is called 1 kalpa. So all these are very, very technical details. There are lots of chances we'll get confused. Kalp kya hota hai and day kya hota hai. So 1 day of Brahma is called 1 kalpa. That's the name given to a day. So Brahma ji ka ek din matlab ek kalpa. Kalp is a day. So then Maitreya Muni starts the description. So in order to explain the duration of the sages, life duration of the sages who are staying in upper planetary systems, first he describes the yugas. So he says that Kali Yuga lasts for 4,32,000 years, and that is equivalent to 1,200 years of the Devatas. So, and then Dwapar Yuga is double of that, Treta is triple, Satya Yuga is 4 times, and then when you combine all these 4, they form a Chatur Yuga. And now we'll see what is this Vedic time span. So Kali Yuga is 4,32,000 years if you make it as a K. So then Dwapar is 2K, Treta is 3K, Satya is 4K. You add all of them, it becomes 10K, So in 1 day of Brahma, there are 1,000 yuga cycles. So 1 day of Brahma means 1,000 yuga cycles. In these 1,000 yuga cycles, there are 14 personalities who rule. They are called Manus. So if you divide 1000 by 14, it comes to around 71. So every Manu rules this Bhumandala for 71 Mahayugas, that is 71 Yuga cycles, And each Manvantara is preceded and followed by a Sandhya Kal. Sandhya Kal is 4 times a Kali Yuga. So this is just for the details. If you are not able to understand, don't worry about that. Anyways, we have to chant Hare Krishna only, even after understanding all that. So, one day of Brahma is 1000 Mahayugas. And if you calculate in this way, you will come to the lifespan of Brahma. Brahmaji's life is 311 trillion 40 billion years. This is a lifespan of Brahma. And in this way, I'll just go back. Okay, there are some more details to be discussed here. So, after this, when Maitreya tells about these 4 yugas, after describing these 4 yugas, Maitreya says that what is a yuga? And he says that in particular, in every yuga, there is a yuga dharma which is practiced. Just like the yuga dharma for Kali Yuga is chanting, the Sankirtana Yagya, Krite Yadhyayate Vishnu Tretayam Yajato Makai Dwapare Paricharyayam Kalautad Hari Kirtanat. And then he says, in Satyuga, dharmic principles were upheld very nicely. But with every further yuga, the religious principles are degrading. 1/4 gets destroyed every yuga. That's why in Kali Yuga only 1/4, that is only truthfulness which is remaining. And then Maitreya says that what happens at the end of Brahma's night. So Brahmaji lives for 1000 yuga cycles. Brahmaji's one day is 1000 yuga cycles. Brahmaji's night is also 1000 yuga cycles. I'll just go ahead. Okay, as you can see in this. So Brahmaji's day is 1000 yuga cycles, that is 4.32 billion human years. And night is also same. So, and as I just told, that in one day of Brahma, that is 1000 yuga cycles, there are 71 Manus who rule that whole 1000 yuga cycles. So therefore, after describing all these things, Maitreya says that after this Brahmaji, this one day is over, Brahmaji sleeps. And when Brahmaji sleeps, what happens? There is a destruction of all the lower planetary systems up to the Swargaloka. So Swargaloka and below, all the planetary systems, they get destroyed first by fire, and then fire emanates from the mouth of Shesha. And then the water of Garbhodak ocean also rises. So first fire burns everything, and then water also rises and submerges all these lower planetary systems. Then after that, what happens? Because of the fire, all the sages who are living on the above Swargaloka is Maharloka. So Maharloka sages, they go to upper planetary system, because they are getting heated by the fire. And that's how Brahmaji, is every day's span is. So then Maitreya Muni gives another description. He says what is called Parardha. Parardha means half of Brahmaji's life is called Parardha. And now Maitreya Muni says here that now Brahmaji's half life is over. Brahmaji 50 साल के बूढ़े हो चुके हैं अभी. His first Parardha is already over. So, we may be thinking, ये सब कहाँ से मिलता है? This is the verse. This is the 33rd verse of the 11th chapter. It is described. Brahmaji's half-life is already over. And then there are some terminologies which are given. There is Brahma Kalpa, Padma Kalpa, and Varaha Kalpa. What is this Brahma Kalpa? Brahma Kalpa means the day one of Brahma. ब्रह्मा का पहला दिन, first day of Brahma is called Brahma Kalpa. And that is also called Shweta Varaha Kalpa. Because in that Kalpa, Varaha Dev appears, which we will be discussing maybe today or tomorrow. And there is something called Padma Kalpa. Padma Kalpa means the next Kalpa. So, if you take, just like our month has 30 days, every day has been given a particular name. Brahma Kalpa, Padma Kalpa, Varaha Kalpa, and like this it goes on. So therefore, Maitreya Muni describes Brahma Kalpa, Padma Kalpa, and then he says, what is Varaha Kalpa? Varaha Kalpa is first day of the second parardha of Brahma's life. That is this. The day which is going on is called Varaha Kalpa. Because second parardha means 51st year. So 51st year of Brahma is going on. In that first month, first day, मतलब बर्थडे 51st बर्थडे हो गया ब्रह्मा जी का और पहला ही दिन हुआ है अभी. So the name of this day is Varaha Kalpa. So these are the various things which are described here, and with this calculation, as in the Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna describes that I gave this knowledge to Vivaswan in the beginning. Imam Vivasvate yogam proktvan hamabhyayam Vivaswan manave praha manorikshva kave bravit. So by this calculation, we can actually understand, we can actually calculate when was this Bhagavad Gita spoken by Krishna to Sun God. Sun God is the Manu of this Manvantara. Manvantara means there are 14 Manvantaras in one day of Brahma. अभी ब्रह्मा जी के 51st ईयर का पहले मंथ का पहला दिन चल रहा है. Just to make things clear, simple. Now ब्रह्मा जी के एक दिन में कितने मनवंतर होते हैं? There are 14 manus. Now which is the manu which is going on? Now 7th manu is going on. 7th manu is called Vaivaswata manu. In this 7th manu, there are 71 yuga cycles, and every manu has 71. 1000 divided by 14 means 71. Now 7th manu is ruling. In that 7th manu, 27 yuga cycles have gone by. So this is the 28th yuga cycle, and Krishna comes only once in a day of Brahma. So in 1000 yuga cycles, Krishna comes only once. That is in 7th Manvantar, 28th yuga cycle of, and in Dwapar Yuga. That happened just 5000 years back. Just imagine how fortunate we are. That's why Prabhupada would say, oh, Krishna came just some time back. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came just 500 years back. That shows how fortunate we are. So if we don't take the opportunity which is given to us, the fortune which we have got, if we don't take the advantage of it, we may lose it. And the most unfortunate thing is if we don't realize what we have got. So therefore, this process of sadhana, this bhakti, it is most rare. When Dhruva Maharaj, he pleased the Lord and he was returning. So Narad Muni comes and he tells Uttanapa, the father of Dhruva, he says, Sudushkaram karam kritva lokapalay rapi prabho. Sudushkaram karam kritva. Your son has performed the most difficult task in the entire creation. Lokapalay rapi, even the 4 directors of the 4 directions, they are not able to do it. What is that? He has pleased the Supreme Lord. And we are so fortunate that we have got this opportunity to at least know and realize that we have become most fortunate. And now we have to remain the most fortunate. So therefore, one time one devotee, he went to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, what we did, that we got a chance to get this Krishna consciousness. So he was thinking maybe Prabhupada will appreciate him and, oh, you deserved it. Prabhupada said, you did not do anything. You had no qualification. And this devotee asked, what was our qualification? Prabhupada said, you had no qualification. I made your qualification. So therefore, we have to understand, just by seeing these numbers, the purpose of describing these numbers is to make us realize how fortunate we are. Getting a human form of life is rare. In that human form, getting a spiritual process is all the more rare. People in this world, they are thinking anything apart from normal is spiritual. Even after understanding, okay, what is genuine spirituality, getting to know that Krishna is the Supreme Lord is all the more rare. Even after getting to know that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, getting connected to a bona fide parampara is still more rare. Even after getting connected to a bona fide parampara, getting connected to a parampara which is giving prema bhakti, it is still more rare. And above all, what is the rarest thing is the time which we are living in, where Krishna has come just 5,000 years back. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come just 500 years back. He will not come again personally. His avatar will come. His expansions will come. Krishna personally comes only once in a day of Brahma. In 1,000 cycles of Yuga, Krishna comes only in one Yuga cycle. And that is this Yuga cycle which is going on. So therefore, we have to understand, we have become most fortunate. But only thing is, we have to remain fortunate. So therefore, we can understand this Bhagavad Gita when it was spoken, we can calculate this. And with this, we can actually calculate the age of the earth also. And we can calculate the age of the universe also. So this is the whole time span. And then Brahma this Maitreya says that, after describing all this, he says that Brahmaji has such a huge lifespan. Why Maitreya described all that? To say this statement, what is described now. He says that this huge lifespan of Brahma is only a nimesh for the Lord. Only a blink of an eye, less than a second. That's all. A whole lifespan of Brahma is just an eye blink for Lord Vishnu. And as you can see in this slide, in 1 millisecond of Brahma, our entire life is coming and going. So therefore, we have to understand how insignificant we are. But the glorious thing is, such insignificant being has been given the opportunity to attain the highest which is there in the entire creation. Tasyeva heto prayateta kovido na labhyate yad brahmatam upariyadaha tallabhyate dukkhavat anyata sukham kalena sarvatra gabhira ramhasa. Therefore, tasyeva heto, one should endeavor only for that goal which is not obtained in all these 14 planetary systems. Na labhyate brahmatam upariyada. After traveling to all the 14 planetary systems, what will not get? Will not get liberation, will not get bhakti. That is available only in this human form. Therefore, we have to endeavor for practicing bhakti unto the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, what is the use of doing all these, worldly things? So therefore, Maitreya Muni says that entire lifespan of Brahma is a nimesh for the Lord. And then he says, time is controller of everyone. Everyone in this world is controlled by time. Time I am. Kalosmi lokakshaya krit pravidho. And as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, time I am, the destroyer of everybody. But he says that time cannot control the Supreme Lord. And then Maitreya Muni says that this whole universe, and here Maitreya Muni gives the dimensions of this universe. Scientists are not able to understand how big is the universe. Maitreya Muni describes how big is the universe. Maitreya Muni says, this universe with 500 million yojana. Yojana means 8 miles. So that is 4 billion miles. So this universe is 4 billion miles in diameter, and it is covered with a whole, covering shell of earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, ahankar, ahatattva, and intelligence. Each layer is 10 times bigger than the previous layer. And then, why is saying all that? He says that this huge universe, it looks as small as a paramanu when they come out of the bodily pores of Mahavishnu. So that huge is Mahavishnu. The universes, when they come out of the pores of Mahavishnu, they are like very paramanu type. So therefore, this huge entire creation is very insignificant. And then Maitreya Muni says that, but Sri Krishna is the original cause of all causes. From Krishna, Mahavishnu is coming. Mahavishnu is also an expansion of Krishna. So this is the end of the 11th chapter. And then in the 12th chapter, chapter is entitled by Prabhupada as Creation of the Kumaras and Others. So in this, Maitreya Muni describes so many things which are created by Brahmaji. So Maitreya Muni says that, I have described to you about time. Now hear about Brahmaji's creation. He explained in detail about time. Now he is describing about Brahma's creation in detail. What all Brahma has created. So, to begin with the creation, first of all, Maitreya Muni describes that Brahmaji created 5 types of ignorance. Why he created 5 types of ignorance in the beginning? So first thing which was created by Brahmaji is ignorance. Why? Because unless we forget our real identity of being a servant of Krishna, it is impossible for us to live in this material world. For example, if somebody is a billionaire and he's told to live in a slum, he'll be miserable. He'll not be able to live, he'll be miserable. But if this person, he forgets his relationship with this family and he forgets that he's a billionaire, then he can live in a slum also, no problem. One time there was one person was traveling in train. He was going from one place to another, and in train, as he was sitting, the one bag fell on his head. It is a real story. And a typical movie story, as the bag fell on his head, he had some dementia. He forgot who he was, where he was coming from, where he's going. So then the end station came, and he got down, not knowing where to go, kahan jaye, kisse mile. He had forgotten everything. So as he went down, there was a book distributor. He was distributing books, and one book was entitled, Who Am I? So this person asked, that is my question. Who am I? Please give me that book. I want to know. So this devotee thought, a very spiritual person is asking all fundamental questions of life. Who am I? He said, okay, no problem. We'll tell you everything. Come with me. So this devotee, he took this person to temple, and this person, he started doing everything. First of all, he shaved off, and then he started wearing dhoti, kurta, tilak, and full kantimala, and started chanting. And then he was, serving in kitchen. For 6 months passed by like this. After 6 months, as he was serving in kitchen, there was a bag of potatoes which was kept up. It fell on his head again. And then, again he remembered his original identity. And then he realized, what I'm doing? Then he was told the whole story. But because he had developed that taste, he continued being a devotee, he continued chanting. So the point is, if we don't forget our relationship with Krishna, if we don't forget our eternal position of being a servant, the opulence which we had in the spiritual world will not be able to enjoy this material world. That was our innate desire. We wanted to control this material world. So that's why he came here. So Brahmaji, he created first 5 types of ignorance. What are these 5 types of ignorance? First is tama. Tama means the darkness in self-knowledge or self-deception. So with this ignorance, we forget our eternal Swarupa. What was our form in the spiritual world? We forget that. One day there was one devotee in Vrindavan. He started going to some Babaji and he said that, I will tell you your Swarupa in the spiritual world. You are a peacock in the spiritual world. And your sadhana is every day, half an hour in the morning, you should, jump like peacock, speak like peacock. So, next day morning, as the other devotees, they were doing their chanting, and immediately, suddenly in between, they would hear some peacock speaking. Then they realized, what is happening? Somebody jumping like peacock. So this is not the way to realize what is our Swarupa. We have forgotten our Swarupa because of this tama, because of this ignorance. But the way to realize this Swarupa is Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabumai Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Karaye Uday. Just by hearing and chanting. Shravana Kirtana Jale Karai Sinchan. When we nourish this Bhakti Lata Bij by hearing and chanting, then we will actually realize our Swarupa. That is called, and the ignorance of that Swarupa is called Tamaha. Then another ignorance is Moha. Moha means illusory bodily conception. Aham mameti, me and mine. Forgetfulness of one's real identity is called Moha. Just like when somebody goes to a theater. In the theater, he forgets his actual identity, starts identifying with the hero. If the hero is getting beaten, so then he feels lots of sadness, and if hero is getting happy and is good time with the, his girlfriend, so the person who's seeing also is happy. That is called illusory bodily conception. That is called moha. Then third is mahamoha. First is tamaha. Tama means first the ignorance of Swarup is covered. Then second, on top of that comes moha. Moha means forgetfulness of one's real identity, illusory bodily conception. Then on top of that is mahamoha. Mahamoha means false proprietorship. False proprietorship means I want this. This is mine. First me comes and then my comes. Mine comes. This is mine. This is my family, my children, my property. Possessiveness. This is called mahamoha. And then when this the possessiveness is frustrated, if we don't get what we want, then comes tamishra. Tamishra means the anger which is arising out of the frustration. When one's enjoyment is obstructed, then frustration comes in. That is called tamishra. And then fifth and last is andha tamishra. Andha tamishra means one becomes so angry that it is as good as being dead. That is unconscious state brought about by anger. Then Maitreya Muni says that when Brahmaji, he saw his sinful nature of creation, because Brahmaji, when we discussed yesterday also, when Brahmaji saw the miseries living entities will endure, Shutrit Tridhatu Virima Muhuradhyamana Shitoshnavata Varsha Itarettaracha Kama Grina Sakalayon Shuddhahyamana Sampashyato Manaurukramasidhatemi. Brahmaji is really suffering, seeing the sufferings of the living entities. So when Brahmaji created these 5 types of ignorance, Brahmaji was not pleased. So to purify himself, he started meditating on the Lord. When he meditated on the Lord, he became purified in his mind. That is a way to become purified. We have so many of the conditionings and arthas are there in the mind. When we meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord, we become purified. Sanchintayed bhagavatas charanaravindam vajrankushadhvaja saroruhalanchanadhyam uttunga rakta vilasannaka chakravala jyotsna virahat mahadridayandakaram. The hridaya andakar, the darkness which is there in the heart, will be dispelled when we meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord. So therefore, we have to meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord for a long, long time. So then, after meditating on the form of the Lord, he became purified. And then he created the 4 Kumaras. These 4 Kumaras, they were liberated souls. And they are called as Urdhva Retasaha. Their semen was flowing upwards. And these 4 Kumaras, they were produced by Brahmaji from 4 types of knowledge called Sankhya, Yoga, Vairagya and Tapas. And when the purpose of Brahmaji creating these 4 Kumara was, he wanted somebody to help in this act of creation. The service of Brahmaji is to create this world, to fill this world with living entities. So Brahmaji created these 4 Kumaras and he told all these 4 Kumaras, now you procreate. Brahmaji said, we don't want to procreate, we want to join Brahmachari ashram. So, so Kumaras, they refused to accept progeny because they were devoted to Lord Vasudeva. Vasudeva Parayanaha. Their aim was liberation. They did not want to get entangled in this material life. And Prabhupada writes in the purport that how could these 4 Kumaras refuse the orders of Brahmaji? Brahmaji is the supreme personality in this entire creation. How can Kumaras refuse Brahma's order? So Prabhupada writes that a devotee is not obliged by the duties of this world. And he quotes this verse, Devarshi Bhutapta Ninam Pitrinam Nakinkaro Nayam Ranicharajan Sarvatmanaya Sharanam Saranyam Gatom Kundam Parirtya Kartum. A devotee of the Lord is not obliged to Devatas, all the living entities, Pitris, and everything. But if he is a pure devotee, till the time we are not pure devotee, we should continue to follow to repay our debts, because we are not on that level. And we should have that faith in the process of bhakti, but we should not artificially jump with a view of escaping our responsibilities. So therefore Prabhupada writes that these Kumaras, because they were such liberated souls, they had no responsibility for the things of this world. They were not obliged. But when Brahmaji, he was disrespected by his sons. How can these sons of mine not follow my order? He became very angry. He tried to control that anger. But although he tried to control his anger, the anger came in between, from middle of the eyebrows. Between his eyebrows, the anger came out in the form of a child. This child was blue and red in color. Blue is a color of ignorance, red is a color of passion. So Neela Lohita. And that child was crying, And this child was telling his Brahmaji, please designate my name and place. He was crying very anxiously. Mera naam bataiye, kahan rehna hai mere ko? He was crying, a small child. So Brahmaji said, because you are crying anxiously, your name will be Rudra. And you are asking me the place of residence. So this Rudra principle is anger, So these are the 11 places where anger resides. Heart. So this heart means this false egocentric life, this false egocentric attitude is the root cause of anger. This is mine. This is belonging to me. And then this anger manifests from the senses. All the senses, they manifest the anger. The eyes become wide, and then air of life, if somebody becomes angry, starts breathing very heavily. So the air becomes disturbed. And then sky, Maitreya says that dense clouds roar in anger. So the clouds are also manifestation of the Rudra. And then air. When the wind is blowing very fiercely, it is a manifestation of Rudra. Then water. When there is flood in the water, ocean, and if it is the sea water is infuriated by wind, that is a manifestation of anger, Rudra. Then of course fire. When fire ablazes, it is a manifestation of Rudra. And then it manifests in earth, sun, moon, and austerity also. And then Brahmaji gives 11 names to Rudra: Manyu, Manu, Mahinash, Mahan, Shiva, Ritadwaj, Ugragret, Bhava, Kal, Vamadev, Dhritavrata. And then he gives 11 wives to these Rudras. They are called Rudranis. And the names of these Rudranis are Dhriti, Dhi, Rasala, Uma, Niyut, Sarpi, Ila, Ambika, Iravati, Swadha, and Diksha. And then again, first of all, Brahmaji created 4 Kumaras. They said, nahi, humko brahmachari banna hai. Chale gaye wo log. Again, Brahmaji created 11 Rudras. And then he gave wives to all of them. And he said, okay, now you procreate. You accept these wives and these places and you procreate progeny. So Rudra said, okay. Rudra started procreating progeny, were so fierce. These progenies, they started devouring this entire universe. So, these progenies started devouring entire universe. Yeah, this Rudra and Shiva, they are actually the same. So actually there is a Sada Shiva who is there in the junction of the Brahma Jyoti and Vaikuntha. And these Rudras, they are the avatar of those Shivas. That Sada Shiva, that's how it is. So these Rudras which are manifesting from the in between the eyebrows of Brahmaji, it is these Rudras, they are the avatar of Sadashiva. So then, so these Rudras started creating such fierce progeny. These progeny started attacking, devouring the entire universe. Brahmaji became afraid. Arey, mera sab kiye karai pe pani fer denge ye log to, So he told, okay, there is no need to create enough of your service. You have done enough of procreation. Now your procreation is destroying my creation. So if you continue to procreate, your progenies will destroy entire universe, and they are attacking me also. So Brahmaji is telling to all the Rudras, okay, you stop. You stop doing all this procreation. You go to the forest, and you start performing austerity. By that austerity, you will achieve auspiciousness. You will bestow happiness to all the jivas, and then you will be able to recreate the universe as before, and you will be able to know the Lord. So when Brahmaji ordered Rudra in this way, Rudra agreed and he went to the forest to perform austerity. Then after that, Brahmaji created all the sages from his various bodily parts. So as you can see in this slide, there are various sages. They are called 10 sons of Brahmaji. Narada, Vashishta, Daksha, Bhrigu, Kratu, Pulatsya, Angira, Atri, Marichi, and Pulaha. These are created from various bodily parts of Brahmaji. Narad Muni is the best part of his body, and he is not interested in any procreation act. He is also a liberated soul. And then Vashishta is born of breathing, and then Daksha is born of thumb. And then after creating the sons of all these sages, Brahmaji creates dharma and adharma. From the right breast, he creates a religion, and from the back, creates death, irreligion. And then he creates lust, anger, greed, power of speaking, ocean, and low and abominable activities. And at last, he created Kardam Muni. Kardam Muni's story will be described in great detail in the end of this third canto. The household life of Kardam Muni and the marriage of Kardam Muni with Devahuti, and then Kapila Muni giving all the instructions to Devahuti. So then, as you can see in this slide, one of the things which are created by Brahmaji is Vak. So this Vak, the power of speaking, when Brahmaji created this Vak, so now it is a very interesting episode. Maitreya says, we have heard that Brahmaji was attracted to his daughter Vak. Although she was not interested. She was not attracted to Brahmaji, but Brahmaji got attracted to Vak. So it is important that, Maitreya Muni is saying, we have heard. Why he is saying we have heard? Because Maitreya Muni is, revealing his hesitation. Oh, this is not he's not enjoying, many times devotees or any person, they enjoy in speaking about the faults of somebody else or some devotees, they did some garvad. अरे पता है तेरे को क्या हुआ? अरे नहीं मालूम ये devotee ने क्या किया? अरे मैं बताता हूँ. So Maitreya Muni, he is having lots of hesitation and in a very, very offenseless attitude. He was not offensive. He was thinking that although this should not be spoken, but I have to speak this because I want to give the message that however powerful and exalted one may be, the senses are very, very powerful. There's a beautiful story which comes in the scriptures. One time, Vyasdev was giving instructions to his disciples. And he was speaking one verse which he has written in Bhagavatam. Matra swasra duhitra va na vivikta sano bhavet balavan indriya gramam vidwamsam api chakarshati. So this verse says one should not sit in a secluded place even with his own mother, daughter and sister. Na vivikta asano bhavet. One should not remain in a secluded place even with his mother, daughter and sister. Why? Balwan indriya gramam. Senses are very, very strong. Vidwamsam api chakarshati. Even a great, intelligent, learned person can get bewildered. So one of the disciples of Vyasadeva started thinking, "Ye zyada ho gaya. How is this possible? How can a learned person be attracted to his own mother, sister or a daughter?" So he was thinking like this, but Vyasadeva being an incarnation of God, he is also omniscient. He understood the thoughts of his disciple. So after a few days, as the disciple was in his kutia hut and it was raining very heavily, and in the middle of the night he heard knock on his door, and he asked, without opening the door, he asked, "Who is that?" So from the other side a voice came, a female voice. The voice said, "I am a very, very, uh, I am a lady who needs a shelter. I have nowhere to go now. There is no one to protect me. And it is raining so very heavily. Please give me shelter for this night. I'll go tomorrow morning for sure." So this disciple said, "No, no, no, no. I am a brahmachari. I cannot live with a woman." So she said, I cannot go anywhere. Please give me shelter. I'll not, speak to you also. I'll just sit in one corner. So ultimately he thought, okay, it is a nature of a sadhu to give mercy. So he opened and he told, "Strictly you be in that room and you should not open that room even if I tell." So she said, "Okay, fine." So she went, closed the door, and then this person started thinking about this lady, and he became so obsessed that he thought, now I have to marry this lady because she was so very beautiful. Seeing the beauty of this lady, he got attracted. He started knocking. And she said, "But I will not open." He said, Please open. I want to marry you." She said, "No, you only told." He said, "Okay, now I am telling you to open." So after lots of discussion, he was not opening. This lady was not opening. So this disciple, this sadhu, he became so obsessed. He climbed up and he jumped from the roof. And as he jumped, the lady, she was at one corner. She came from behind and he put her hand on the shoulder of this person and said, "Balwan indriya gramam vidwamsam api chakarshati." So this is a story to tell that how these senses are so very strong. We should never ever overestimate the power of ourselves Never underestimate the power of the senses. Senses are so very impetuous. Therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Indriyani pramathini haranti prasabham manaha. The senses are strong and impetuous, and it can attract even a mind of a man of discrimination. So therefore, Maitreya Muni is telling this incident with lots of hesitation, just to show that how one should be careful when one is dealing with the opposite sex. So therefore, now Maitreya Muni says that when Brahmaji, he got attracted to his own daughter, and seeing Brahma so deluded, Brahmaji's sons, they went to Brahmaji, headed by Marichi. As you can see in this, one of the sons is Marichi. So this Marichi, along with other sons, they went to Brahmaji, and with great respect, they said, this kind of act was never done before by you. This is not befitting your position, because you are a supreme person. Your character will be followed by other people, So please don't do this. Give up your mentality. Brahmaji, he was not ready to listen. Although all the sons, they tried to, dissuade Brahmaji, but still, Brahmaji is not going to listen. He's not listening only. So these sons, they started praying to Supreme Lord. And then by the prayers, Krishna gave intelligence to Brahma. Brahmaji became so much ashamed. And in that shame, he completely gave up this mentality, this sinful mentality he gave up. So we have to understand that when these type of stories are described in the scriptures, we should not blame the person. We have to learn the lessons for ourselves. Because after that we'll see Brahmaji continued his services. Brahmaji did not fall down from his service. He did not fall down from his position. But if we start discussing the faults of devotees, if we start blaming the devotees, criticizing the devotees, then they will flourish in their Krishna consciousness. They will get corrected, purified, and they will go ahead. But because of the fault of ours, because we criticized devotees, we will fall down. So therefore, we have to understand, if somebody, a senior devotee, very importantly, if some senior Vaishnava is showing some misbehavior, we should understand that this person is so very advanced. He is 99% Krishna conscious. Thoda bahut bacha hai. 1% is remaining, and that's why 1% some anartha is there. That's why some accidental mistake. On the contrary, we may be 1% Krishna conscious and 99% anarthas may be there. So therefore, we have to understand, we should never ever criticize any devotee, because we never know what is Krishna's plan for that devotee. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he says in Bhagavatam, Tyaktva swadharmam charanambujam harer bhajanna pakko athapatet tato yadi yatra kva va bhadram abhudam ushyakim kovart aptam bhajatam swadharmatah tyaktva swadharmam. If a person gives up all his material occupations and he surrenders unto Krishna, but bhajan apakko, he is not very, very mature and he falls down. What's the loss? There is no loss in that. On the contrary, if somebody is doing his occupational duties very nicely, but he is not practicing bhakti, what is the gain? So therefore, we have to be really careful not to discuss about the senior devotees' faults and the problems. Otherwise, they will become purified, they will go ahead, but we will get distracted, we will get deviated, we will fall down. So this incident of Brahmaji getting attracted to his own daughter demonstrates that the strength of this sexual impulse is so strong that even a great person can get bewildered. But how to come out of it? By the power of prayers. We need to be prayerful. Hasam hare ravanata khila lokativra shokashru sagara vishoshanamatyudaram sammohanaya rachitam nijmaya yasya bhrumandalam munikrite makharadvajasya. So it is described by Kapila Dev. We'll discuss this in detail. If we are disturbed by lusty desires, what we should do? We should meditate on the eyebrows of the Lord. When we meditate on the eyebrows of the Lord, they are like bow. Eyebrows of the Lord, they are like bow. And when we are looking at the eyebrows of the Lord, then the glance of the Lord is like an arrow. And that arrow will destroy this arrow of Kamdev, Cupid. So therefore, when we meditate on the Lord's eyebrows, when we pray to the Lord, then we can be free from this impulse of lust. And therefore, we should understand the accidental mistakes done by great souls, they do not affect them. But if some unduly criticizes these great souls for their mistakes, that person will fall down. So this is a very important lesson we have to understand from this lesson of Vak, this pastime of Brahmaji getting attracted to his own daughter. We should never ever blame any of the great personalities if they are found to be engaged in some sinful activity, because they are personally under the care of the Supreme Lord. They are in their stage of purification. They will get purified. But if we start criticizing and gossiping and having all sorts of talking about all these great souls, we will fall down. So then, after describing this creation of the sages, now Brahmaji is continuing his service. Unka seva chal raha hai. Now Brahmaji creates further. He creates the 4 Vedas, and then he creates the Upavedas. He creates Rigved, Yajurved, Samved, Atharved, then Ayurved, then Dhanurved, Gandharva, Sthapatya Ved is architectural science. And then he writes Brahmaji creates Puranas and Itihasa. And then he creates this Karma Tantras. Then after that, he creates these 4 legs of Dharma. What is the 4 legs of Dharma? 4 legs of Dharma are Vidya, Dana, Tapa, Satyam. Then he creates 4 ashramas from his 4 mouths. And then he creates 4 types of Brahmacharya, eastern, western, southern and northern sides of his mouth. Then he creates the 4 occupations for Grihasthas: Varta, Sanchaya, Shalin, Shilonchana. Different Grihasthas, they are also having different ways of earning, maintaining their family. Varta means occupations not forbidden, agriculture. Sanchaya means performing sacrifices. Shalini means taking alms without begging. Shilonchana, taking the fallen grains in the field. And then Brahmaji created 4 types of Vanaprasthas, 4 types of sannyas. Then he created the arts, then science, and celebrated hymns. And then he created the Vedic meters and verse writings. Then he created audible sounds. Then, after this, so Brahmaji, Maitreya says that Brahmaji's body is composed of Vedas, Shabda Brahma. So this Brahma's body is invested with so many energies. Maitreya is saying all that. And he says that body of Brahma is a personal representation of the Supreme Lord. After this, Brahma gives up his body and accepts a new body. And then Maitreya says that after creating all these things, now Brahmaji creates Swayambhuva Manu and Shatarupa. Why he creates Swayambhuva Manu and Shatarupa? Because he found that the main service of Brahma is creation. But the creation is not happening properly. So he created 2 forms. As Brahmaji was thinking, 2 forms came out. One male form and one female form. And the names of these were Manu and Shatarupa. And they got married, and then they procreated and filled the entire universe. So then Brahmaji says these Manu and Shatarupa, they created 5 children in due course. 2 sons and 3 daughters. So who are the 2 sons? Priyavrat Maharaj and Uttanpad. Now who are the 3 daughters? Akuti, Devahuti and Prasuti. So then Uttanpad married his 3 daughters to 3 sages. Akuti was married to Ruchi, Devahuti was married to Kardama Muni, and Prasuti was married to Daksha. And from them, this whole world was filled with population. So we'll stop here. This is the end of the 12th chapter, and tomorrow we'll be discussing about the appearance of Varaha Dev and further chapters. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granthana Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So any questions they can ask? Where is time discussed in Bhagavad Gita? Time is we discussed in this is described in 11th chapter. Krishna says when Krishna shows his Virat Rupa, he also shows his Kala Rupa to Arjuna. Kalo Asmi, time I am. So that is where it is Krishna is saying. And then another place time is described in the 4th chapter. Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavanaham Avyam. And then in 8th chapter again time is described. Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Ahriyat Brahmano Vidu. So all these things describe time. How do we understand that the universe is covered with mind, false ego, other elements like earth? Yeah, these are all ultimately material elements, although they are not visible to our eyes, but still they are material elements. They are subtle. Just like we can see earth, water, fire, and ether. We cannot see air, we cannot see ether, but still we know they exist. Similarly, these false ego, this mind, they are also material layers. They are also covering the earth, this universe. Balavan Indriya Gramam. This is a verse from Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. I'll just tell you the reference for this verse. Balavan Indriya. I'll put on the group. I'm not able to find now. Yeah, Meru Parvat is not visible because Meru Parvat is not gross. Meru Parvat is made up of solid gold, but that is not a gross gold which we have. That is a subtle gold, Just like it is described in the scriptures that even devatas, they don't cast shadow. So that is how this. There is a story about Shakuntala when she was getting married. I'm not able to remember the exact pastime. There was one lady, very famous. I think Dushyanta and Shakuntala only this pastime. So many devatas also came, and she wanted to find where is Dushyanta. So she realized, okay, all the other people are not casting shadows. This person is casting shadow. That means he is an earthly being, and all other are not earthly. They are heavenly devatas. So therefore, Meru Parvat is also not a gross thing which we can see with our eyes. That's why it is invisible. Before Brahma created Swara Vani, what was the mode Brahma used to communicate with his sons? Yeah, that is a good question. So basically, you have to understand that when Brahmaji it is described to create this power of speech, it is for the living entities of this world, So when Brahmaji is completely made up of intelligence, his body is made up of intelligence, Shabda Brahma. So he does not need all these, material things to speak and just like us. His body is not like us. Our body is made up of gross matter. Brahma's body is made up of intelligence, Shabda Brahma. So therefore, he is not dependent on all these gross mundane things material things to communicate. So that's how Supreme Lord communicated to Brahmaji directly in the heart. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikave. So Brahmaji, his mode of communication with his sons may be different, not like us speaking with our gross sense organs, because Brahma's body is also only different. All the devatas, they have the same they have same elements, but the composition is different. So that is the difference between our speaking and Brahma's speaking, like that. Okay, so we'll stop here. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.